call this meeting to order, February 20th, 2024. John, would you like to do the roll call?
Sure. Karen Ford,
Yes.
Annette Schreiner,
Yes.
Jim Salsbury,
Yes.
Dick Long,
Present.
and Bob Eyre.
Yes.
All present.
Would you join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the meeting tonight. First thing we're going to do is I would entertain a motion to make an addition to the agenda. And the motion's going to be for the addition of the employment and compensation of a public employee
For executive.
during executive session, or the executive session.
I'll make a motion we approve.
I'll second it.
Jim,
Yes.
Annette,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes?
Tom, or Dick,
Yes.
and Bob.
Yes.
Thank you. Now, I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes of February 16th if there are no additions or corrections.
Motion. I'll second.
Bob,
Yes.
Dick,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Annette,
Yes.
and Jim.
Yes.
Next, we'll have a hearing of public concerns if there's any to be had tonight. Mr. Metz, would you like to say anything tonight?
I'll just share with the group that had a meeting this week with the mayor, Derek, Joe, and Brian Whelan concerning audio-video recordings for these. I have provided a solution that you're not going to spend $40,000. You're going to spend a lot less than that. It's simple, it's easy. I have a demo that I set up for that meeting that took less than an hour. You have already upgraded your audio equipment, so there shouldn't be an issue there. What's in question right now is the existing cameras you have being used in a fixed position, 2 per building, 1 for just viewing the council or the board, and 1 viewing your monitor or screen. Mr. Whelan shared with us during the meeting that the projector that's in the council chamber right now came from the old bank building next to where the fire station used to be, and because we discussed the possibility of getting a video output to that back to PC for this software to run, and he didn't think it had it. I kind of looked at new cameras, the new ones do not. From my standpoint, when I was on the manufacturing side and we were setting up training rooms, we had projectors that we purchased that had a video output to them because we sent it to a monitor, so if you were doing a presentation, you weren't constantly turning around looking at the screen. Technology changes very quickly. The software I'm proposing is free. It can be set up with buttons, with hotkeys to start recording, stop recording, to change what's called a scene, so you switch between a board versus showing something on the screen. It's set up in the demo I have that when you have your intro disclaimer, there's no mic. When you go to the introductory slide showing either BMU or City Council before the meeting starts, it's also muted on the mic. If you want to mute the mic during the process for some reason, you can do that with a hotkey also. And when the recording's done, basically it goes through a utility that converts it to an MP4. At an MP4, you can go ahead and edit that if you wanted to take something out. I built into it a script that gave you the time and date based on the CPU unit that it would be recording on. And at this point, I've offered to Derek or whoever at BMU, if they want to go down this route, I'm more than happy to help them get it up and running fast. Obviously, using it's a lot quicker than trying to get through the learning curve. I did check, by the way, and there is a way to export like my demo where you could download OBS to your side, and then with 3 files, you could reload it back and save everything that I have. You do have to take on one of the utilities, it will go out, and if you have what I'll call the image folder on the hard drive, it will go out and find it, so you don't have to go through and do all those links all over again. And then the other thing would happen is if you'd set this up for Bryan City Council, once you had it perfected and good, you could literally clone it, convert it to BPA, and obviously change the images and the logoing and things like that for this meeting and move forward. So there's a solution out there that's a lot less expensive than $40,000, and I just continue to think that for a city with a $57.6 million budget, it's very important, not only for transparency, but all the things that I've already told you about people not being able to be at these meetings. It's very difficult to go through the annual reviews, and that's exactly why I'm here tonight, because I want to see what all the departments are doing. And you can't do it when you're doing it with audio only. So. And if at some point EPA would like a demo, I'm more than willing to do that. It's a 10-minute show.
Thank you. Okay, next we'll entertain the Clerk-Treasurers Report.
The board has received the monthly reports for January in their packets. And as usual, I would entertain any questions you might have on those, either this evening or anytime in the future. Bank statements, which you normally get, I did not have this evening, but you have really the pertinent information for BMU, the cash statements, and the bank reconciliation.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve Clerk Treasurer's Report.
I'll second it.
Dick?
Yes.
Annette?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
And Bob?
Yes.
Up next, we'll have a motion to approve the BPA Committee meetings. Any comments? Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve the committee meetings.
I'll second it.
Karen?
Yes.
Annette?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
And Bob?
Yes.
Up next, a resolution appointing the City of Bryan's representatives to serve as member of the OMEA Board of Directors in 2024.
So as discussed at the February 6th meeting, Dick Long expressed interest in serving as the OMEA alternate.
Need a resolution number.
Oh, sorry.
Yep, I gotta read that. Resolution number 3, 2024, a resolution authorizing Carrie Schlade as delegate and Richard Long as alternate to represent the City of Bryan as a member of the Board of Directors of the Ohio Municipal Electric Association in 2024.
Yeah, so the municipality is required to designate formally a person to represent it. As John said, this reflects Mayor Carrie Schlade as the designated representative and Dick Long is the alternate representative. I believe Bryan City Council passed a similar resolution last night.
Motion to accept Resolution 3
I'll make-
approving.
I'll make a motion. We approve.
And I'll second.
Thank you.
Jim?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Annette?
Yes.
And Dick?
Abstain. I'm not going to vote for myself.
Next, we'll have the 2023 year in review for the electric department.
Yeah, so we'll start off the electric department year in review with a recap of the financials. I'll talk a little bit about the power supply, and then Al and Jim will talk about the projects. Start off, we talked a little bit about the power supply and what our energy sources were for 2023. The pie chart on the right shows all of the different projects we're in and what percent of our energy came from those sources. Just a couple things to highlight. In 2023, Bryan used a total of 177,000 megawatt hours of energy. That was 3.3% below the forecast. It was also 4.8% below 2022. In 2022, we used just a little over 186,000 megawatt hours. Mostly in part due to the mild temperatures in 2023. We didn't have any prolonged periods of extreme heat or extreme cold, so that's a large part of that decrease. The BP remaining requirements, that was up 1% from 2022 to 30.6%. The Prairie State Energy Campus was up 3.2% to 29.5%. We did see AFEC, or the Fremont Energy Center, down 2.5%. The BMU energy sources, that's Auglaize, the solar field, and the power plant. Those energy sources were down 1% to 5.7%. And then total renewable energy sources, 22.2%, and that was down just under a percentage. Auglaize and the solar field were virtually the same as 2022 at 5.3%. Talk about our wholesale power supply cost and then also our annual power supply cost. A couple things to note on the wholesale cost. We ended the year at $60.85 a megawatt hour. That was up 11.1%. The market prices for the sale of our excess energy was lower than what was budgeted. So that resulted in an $8 megawatt hour increase. And the thing to remember from that budgeted price, that budgeted market price, is that was set in June of 2022. So since then, we know the market has been up and down. So we did budget lower on the sale of that energy. As I mentioned earlier, our energy use was lower than expected. So what that really meant is then we had fewer megawatt hours to spread those fixed costs out over. And so that added $2 to the megawatt hour. The BP remaining requirements, as I mentioned earlier, was 1% more. That is our cheapest power at $36.75 a megawatt hour. Prairie State, they produced 2% more than what was budgeted. So that lowered our cost by $1.25 a megawatt hour. Fremont Energy Center also saw a lower than expected cost by $1.75 a megawatt hour, and that was largely driven by the lower natural gas prices. The JV5 project, or Belleville, those costs were lower, and we also received about $114,000 in revenue in the sale of RECs. The Blue Creek Wind Farm, we've talked about this before, but it ended in June of 2022. But there was still some historical RECs that could be sold. Those RECs were sold at about $67,000. The AEP metering issue, that was when the OMEA group was overbilled for energy and transmission. So we had received just over $1 million. We had gotten approval from the board to spread that $1 million out in the form of a credit at about $87,000 a month, and that was applied to our power supply cost adjustment over the course of 2023. Transmission and capacity savings for 2023 were $4.9 million. We also received performance credit from Winter Storm Elliott of $106,000. And then we were also able to sell back to the market during Winter Storm Elliott and received $732,000 in revenues. And then also we sold our own RECs to about $212,000. That includes a small portion of the 2022 recs and the majority portion of the 2023 recs. So really, as we've talked all year, those, the AEP metering issue and the credits we've received there, the sale of recs, the capacity credits, really that allowed us to keep our PCA negative all year, which was a benefit to our customers. If you take a look at the graph there, that shows our annual power supply cost. The annual power supply cost is the wholesale cost plus our local expenses. So you can see we ended 2023 at $61.76 a megawatt hour, which was about a $1.40 decrease from 2022. Just taking a look at the overall electric utility expenses. The single greatest expense for the electric utility is the power supply. That makes up about 77%, $12.3 million. The distribution contributes about $2.1 million to the expenses, or 13.2%. And then customer service and administration, 7.4%, and billing and accounting at 2.4%. Just an overview of the electric financials. In the 501 electric O&M fund, we started the year with $11.4 million. We had budgeted revenues at $20.6 million. Our actual year end was $19.7 million in revenue. Expenses were budgeted at $19.7 million, with the actuals being about $16.7 million. That left us with a margin of just over $3 million. Transfers to the capital, we did budget an additional $200,000 in 2023 to be transferred. The total transfer in 2023 was $2.2 million. So that was the additional transfer, and then that was also the $2 million transfer to capital that we did at year end for 2024 projects. That left us with an ending fund balance of $12.2 million. Overall, an increase in the fund of $854,000. In the electric capital reserve fund, we started the year at $3.6 million. The revenues there, or the transfers that we just talked about, you do see an extra $6,044 there. That was from the sales and capital assets late in the year. Expenses were budgeted at $2.6 million, and the actual were $1.1. That left us with a margin of just over $1 million. We ended the year with a fund balance in the capital of $4.7 million. Again, or just that increase of just over $1 million. When we look at the 501 and the 515 combined, we started the year with $15.1 million. We ended the year at $17 million, or an increase of $1.9 million. This slide just takes a line graph that represents the 12 months out of the year and the total cash comparison from 21, 22, and 23. Take a look at the electric sales by class. The largest sale by class is the industrial class, or the large power, at 54.3%, or about $9.3 million. The next largest one is the residential class at 30.2%, or $5.2 million. And then the commercial class at 15.5%, or $2.6 million. We have seen, as we mentioned earlier, a slight decrease from 2022. But overall, if you look at those percentages and the breakdowns, they are pretty consistent across each class, and what percent makes up those sales in that class. Taking a look at the kilowatt hours by class, the largest class again is the industrial, or the large power, at about 96 million kilowatt hours. And that's across 54 accounts. The next largest class would be the residential at a little over 44 million kilowatt hours, 5,066 accounts in that class. The commercial class was a little over 22 million kilowatt hours, and there's 693 accounts in that class. And then we have our free service at about 6.3 million kilowatt hours, and there's 243 accounts in that class.
Just a quick question. Who are your top 5 industrials?
I couldn't get you the most up-to-date information, but I don't have it with me now.
Okay. Titan Tire, Spangler, Howard?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just taking a look at the year for total kilowatt hours, we ended the year with 169 million. Like I said, we were down about 4.1% from 2022. Aside from 2019, the past 4 years have been pretty consistent. And then just a financial plan or outlook moving forward in 2024. Salsbury and Associates have completed a cost of service study. The board approved a 3-year rate plan beginning November of 21 and ending this past November of 2023. This fall we did work with Salsbury and we had them do a review of the revenue requirements. At that time there was no recommendation to make any changes, but we will kind of reevaluate that and the expenses in the middle of 2024. Power supply, the BP remaining requirements, that agreement is ending at the end of 2024. So we'll be working with them to find some replacement power. And then also renewable energy sources, the board set the goal of 25%. We've been just a little bit shy of that. We had the Blue Creek wind and the landfill gas had fallen off. But if you remember, early fall, we talked about some solar and hydro power purchase agreements. AMP was submitting a grant, hoping to reduce the cost of that agreement, so we're waiting word back from them. I would expect something in the April or May timeframe for some additional power purchase agreements. And then peak demand, as I shown earlier, it was $4.9 million for 2023. Jim's going to touch on what it will be for this year, but continue to educate, enhance, and highlight the importance of that and how it does affect our rates. Just a quick summary of the Good Neighbors Utility Fund. The board started this fund in 2005, and it's there to assist local residents and families with their electric and water bills. Since 2005, total donations received have been just a little over $126,000. In 2023, our donations were not as high as what they normally have been, so we'll look forward to this year and maybe getting the word out a little more. This graph is just goes back historically to show how many families have been assisted with the Good Neighbors Fund. Overall, since 2005, 952 families have been assisted. In 2023, there was 15 families assisted through the Good Neighbors Fund. So if there isn't any questions or comments, I'll turn it over to Al to talk about the projects.
Everyone.
Hi, Al.
Yeah.
As normal, every year I go through my schedule for 2023. I went through it. Categorized the projects in underground overhead projects, lighting projects, miscellaneous. This is no direct order of how they were done or anything like that. So I'll just go through the projects that I've listed. Our underground projects, we helped the water department install a 100 kW generator for wells 3, 4, and 5 back here in our back 40. was very involved in the engineering design, working with the generator people on that. Helped support the water department and getting that done. The Bryan Senior Campus, we had an underground feed that we bored some pipe in. It's industrial feeder 3. We've got the Bryan Senior Campus switched over to that. That allowed us to be able to wreck out the overhead lines on East Wilson Street. We installed a new underground service in the 400 block of Old Farm, installed a new transformer and a box pad. We also installed a new 3-phase underground project for the Spangler Candy Museum. And we also installed a single-phase transformer to take care of some single-phase customers underground in that block in the downtown area. That's a picture of the finished project there on the top right. We installed a single-phase primary feeder in the Wilson and Gary Drive area, getting off of that East Wilson Street line that I'm talking about, wrecking out. And we installed poles on Belmont, taking care of a old pole and some different things that service that we had to redo and stuff in the Oakwood Avenue Belmont area. We installed services in the 700 block of South Main, 800 block of South Beach, on County Road 12, and 900 block of South Main for the Port Authority. We also had 68 other work orders and new services and upgrade services in 2023, and a new transformer bank and 3-phase service for the Williams County Playhouse project on the west side of the square.
Al, I have
Yes.
a question, please. So on the Spangler Candy, the transformers are sitting in the parking lot. Is there any plans to put up some kind of, what are those
Bolliards?
bumper things to keep someone from running into
Yeah,
them?
yeah, we do have plans to do that, we just haven't got to it
Okay.
yet. But we've got 6-inch pipe back there that we use that for steel pipe that we fill full of concrete, so. Let's see, new underground service to Bryan Area Foundation office in the 100 block of South Lynn. East Mulberry Street, we installed a service for a Habitat for Humanity home. Leaky transformer at A-Stamp, where we removed that and shipped that back for repair, 1500 kVA. Pictures on the right kind of show that. New service for the 404 East Bryan Street, a duplex, and we relocated a pole. 100 block of North Meyer Street, underground pole replacement project. 800 block of East Bryan, a new underground service and pole replacement. And we also upgraded the 12 kV, we installed a 12 kV external feed into the powerhouse over at the power plant. This is in conjunction with taking the 34.5 conversion project. When we take that transformer out, the 34.5 to 4 kV, we take that out here soon when we get it in. They will lose house power if we kept it on the way it's fed. This gives an external feed from our circuits outside into that transformer, so when we do have that outage, the power plant can maintain power for whatever they need to do. And that project's complete. Overhead projects, we installed 3-phase service to the Eyre Corporation on North Main Street. They have a small business there. We hung a bank and ran a 3-phase service for some specialized testing they do there. We installed a transformer bank and overhead service on Buffalo Road and ran the service over to the law offices there. That was kind of a rush thing. It was lost some line or something, burn up, and we had to redo it. Worked with the customer and their electrician. It's kind of a quick project. The extended three-phase service, overhead pole line at East Wilson and Commerce Drive, we tied that back into Circuit 4 there for the industrial park. We rebuilt pole line 1030 to 1228 East Wilson there by L.E. Smith. 308 North Union Street, installed a pole and a service reroute project. Relocated a pole and service at PTC for their new warehouse. Received cast iron poles and staged them at the old Trevitt Street sub-site to assemble them and take down when we go here in March to start building that line. That's the line that we're going to build from the power plant to Edgerton Street for the 69 feet to the plant. We installed a new service for St. Pat's Church, a building at St. Pat's Church, not the church itself, but we got that done. And we did 69 pole testing last year where we pole tested all of our 69 poles around the city. We placed a 69 pole at the corner of Eyre 13 and West Fountain Grove Drive. 3 pictures on the right are before. It's the picture on the bottom. During is where the bucket trucks are, and the end project is the picture on the top right. That's the completed project. And we replaced 7 poles in the Woodland Estates trailer park for service upgrades throughout last year. They've been upgrading a lot of their services to their trailers out there. Set poles at the power plant for communication fiberizers in conjunction with the power plant project. Received the 69 line switches for the 69 Alleyville north of the power plant, as I mentioned before. Replaced 2 poles at the Bryan Skate Park on East Perry. Raised drive pole replacement and transfer. 100 block at East Edgerton, pole and anchor relocation. New pole for a 12 kV switch for Bryan Plastics down the road here. And we did tree trimming, the distribution and Marks corridor lines. We used Aspen tree service for that. We also worked on our condemned pole replacements down in the Newdale Circle area is one thing. We continued with our squirrel proofing, and we also had a pole relocation removal on West South Street for that bike path construction that the city engineering did last year. Lighting projects, Pleasantwood lighting project, we completed that. Short block, I don't remember the actual number of that block, but on Pleasantwood, just west of Belmont. We had a new street light circuit between 715 Center Ridge Road and 905 Mayor Drive. New street light petition for an install. I think the board approved that for a house on Circle Drive. And we had a conduit installation for the city improvement project on South Portland Street, which we should be ordering and receiving those poles this year and installing that poles and fixtures and circuitry and stuff this year for that project. We received the poles and fixtures for the 100 block of North Main Street. We just received those a couple weeks ago. We received them and then we had to rework them, so we had to send them back, but we just got them back. They had a couple holes in the wrong spot. That would be all the old MoCast poles in that area. We're going to replace them with the downtown historical lighting poles. We had a Bryan football field lighting project. We helped with loading poles out of there and getting them off site. We also, the water tower LED at the Fountain City Tower on East Perry. I know the water department purchased and we installed 3 LED lights for that, spotlighting the Fountain City Tower. And we're doing it with 3 LED lights compared to 6 metal halide lights from the past, reducing the energy usage there. Lighting work orders, we had around 108 in total for the year. Miscellaneous projects, we purchased an automated solar power traffic signal along with the city purchasing one. AMI meter change outs, we had about 50 days of meter replacements in 2023, which we're working real close to getting that all finalized with our 3-phase meters. We just finished up our unbilled service meters here a couple weeks ago, so we're looking real good there. In the clerk's office, they're billing off that system. It's really going really well so far. Let's see, we received a new sweeper and scrubber for the electric department warehouse and keep our warehouse clean. And we did a bolt-in meter change-out project that we have not, we went out and got quotes and stuff for that and awarded that to an electrician. Set steel beams at the power plant for the substation project. Water well number 7 generator. We worked on the planning and engineering coordination of that project. We attended monthly AMP quarterly safety meetings, and we were involved with a proposal, sent it out to a couple engineers on a 2025 electric system study, which included a 10-year planning document that we're requesting have done. Have not gotten any quotes back yet for that. We assisted the communications department with the AMI gateways at Lakeland, Woods, and Norlick, and we poured some concrete in the back for some pad storage for our equipment, outdoor equipment. Miscellaneous projects, again, JV 4-pole replacement, had a car accident, assisted the communication department in installing overhead fiber optic cable for their loop upgrade. We hosted a AMP regional safety meeting in the electric warehouse. Meters came in. It was a very well safety-oriented training course. We had it back in our warehouse. It was really good. Some different communities show up. And we provided mutual aid to Hillsdale, Michigan, Pioneer, Ohio, Springfield, Illinois, Tallahassee, Florida, and Swanee Valley Co-op in 2023. And Orlando completed 2 sessions of its line worker training at AMP, and we updated our first aid cabinets and truck kits for compliancy, and we did the electric department inventory towards the end of the year. Unbilled service projects, city terrace tree removals, Christmas light installation, and the install and removal of Christmas lights on the square. We do a Lions Club temporary electric service, Jubilee temporary electric service, installations, Day in the Park temporary installation, Oktoberfest. We helped install some flock cameras around town, camera installs at the rec park, flare on the square, electric display board dressed like a lineman, and truck demos for the Christian homeschool kids at the power plant. And we did a high school career day, and we also decorated trucks for the Christmas parade. 2024 projects, we moved the Deerfield underground replacement materials only to 2024, Carson Drive materials only to 2024, South Portland Street, I think I mentioned that before, the lights and fixture purchase replacement. We want to replace, get something on schedule for truck number 2, a 55-foot bucket, and a pickup truck, truck number 10. We want to purchase a zero-turn mower with the power plant, and we want to have some engineering and design work looked at into an electric warehouse expansion. Just another thing here I did, just to recognize the employees, all the employees and our people back there. There's 13 of us with 218 years of experience, and we have a wide range of staffing, years of service from 32 years all the way down to 2. Just kind of an appreciation slide I wanted to put in there, and thank everybody for all their hard work in 2023. And if there's any questions, I'd be glad to see if I can answer.
How did your poll testing go on the loop?
We were fine.
You didn't have any bad ones? Really?
Yep.
That's good. That's good. Also, down on Trevitt Street, old Trevitt Street substation, are those our poles laying in the?
Yes.
Are those composite poles?
They're ductile iron.
Okay.
Yeah.
And those are for the alley?
Yeah, they're for the alley build. There's like 12 of them, I believe.
And also, the replacement for truck 2, is the delivery on that kind of thing improved at all since?
Oh, no.
So, yeah, it'd be years out probably once you ordered it then.
Yeah, we're pretty much trying to just get on a list. We can,
Okay.
What is truck
Thanks,
2?
Rob.
a 55-foot bucket.
Bucket
It's
truck.
a,
Same size as our other? We have 2.
Well, we have a 65-foot truck 8, and then our 2 working trucks are 55, and our truck 2 and truck 8 are working trucks, line trucks. Truck 2's a 55-foot L-tech.
You don't want a 65 and have 2 the same?
No, we have the truck to work the taller poles, the 65, reaches up to those heights. They don't need that big a truck for, both of them. Yeah.
Okay.
What's the status of transformers? Are they still?
Yeah, they're still out. We have a couple 3-phase ones on order that we've had on order. But it's been a while. We don't expect them probably probably in the summer. And they've been on order for a year. They're still hard to get. Meter bases are another thing. We're just receiving the ones that we had on order like a year and a half ago. We just received the other day. For some reason, they're hard to get.
What's your inventory on transformers?
We keep a selection that, where we can cover anybody in town that would have a failure, that we would have a replacement for them, any of our big factories and stuff.
Sure.
We bulked up on our single-phase pads and poles, like tried to get ahead of the game a little bit, and we did stock up. We do have a lot more stock than we normally would keep, just because of the environment. But we're looking pretty good that way as our inventory.
Was a lot of this because of COVID and the recovery process, or is it because of just the process of making it?
Yeah, I would say natural resources, probably deal, with copper and, things like that that go into making them. I don't know if COVID plays a role in that or not, but it just seems like, just crazy things out there like transformers and meter bases that you think they could just crank them out. It's not
It's not
you're
easy.
not getting them.
No.
Do you get rebuilt?
Yes, we did.
Did-
Lots of rebuilds. We normally don't.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought
We normally like to buy new transformers, but we
it's probably
had to get
wise.
some transformers in, so we did buy some rebuilds.
Do you see a time in the next 3 to 5 years where it becomes more renewable and cyclable, where they're gonna be not a 2 to 3 to 5 year wait process, they'll be more current?
Who
I don't
knows?
know.
Who knows?
Yeah, I would hope, but, it would have to change in the markets or something, I'm not sure. We just gotta keep ahead of the game, kind of look forward.
Right.
And that's kind of what we're doing.
You're always gonna need transformers.
Yep.
It's like we're not going out and replacing, transformers just to do it anymore. I mean, we pretty much are gonna run them till pretty much, so. which before, if we had a project or something where we would put new transformers there because we wouldn't want to go back and replace them. So, but now we're gonna let it run because it's just, we can't stand the risk of taking something in our stock that we may need later, so.
Just noticed 30 years. That went quick, didn't it?
Yeah.
Sure don't seem like you've been here that long.
No.
Yeah, thank you, Al.
Anything else?
Thanks, Al.
Think so. Jim? Power plant and all glaze hydro plant, year in review.
We'll start off with our generation part. It seems to be the most interesting. The capacity savings this year from our generation is just in the 375,000. And you may think that's a little lower than normal. Capacity in the AEP world is the generation portion, kind of like gas or the water. And at this point right now, AEP has built a lot of capacity into their generation. So like 2023, a cost for a kilowatt month was $1.04. This year it's 88 cents. So but I expect that all to change because PJM is doing the 3-year auction here in June and July again. And so we'll know what the next pricing is after that for the next 3 years. So with those 3 things, we didn't come in as high as we had in the past, but it's still a savings for doing all that. On December 22nd or December 23rd, 24th of 2022, everybody remembers how cold it was. That was a year ago Christmas. Even though the capacity is June 1st through September 30th, when PJM calls for a maximum generation capacity, all the things go off. No dates matter any longer or anything. So capacity and transmission, once there's a max generation event called, which means that anybody that has a generator can turn it on with any fuel that you have. So if you had a wood stove out back and you could turn on a generator and sell it, they'd take it at those times. And so that's what happened during those times, during some of that. And how this works is, it's kind of like the positive and negative of consequences. If I find you, you have to pay me, if I fine you $100, you have to pay me $100. But if it's a negative fine, I pay you that. So that's how they do it. They still call it a fine, but it's either positive or negative which way it's going. At the power plant, we averaged just under the kilowatt maximum that we could put out that our generators are faceplated for, but that still gave us $12,500 that we got, okay, for that. The hydro plant didn't put out as much as it's nameplated for because you're based on water flow, what you have available there. And the solar field didn't do anything for us because the actual peak happened at 6 p.m. It's dark outside. So, but we still, with the 2 bigger fellows running, we still got just under 7,000 back for capacity. And the transmission side is a different story. Because of all the push for EV and everything, transmission, my personal guess is that we're still 50% behind the game. So they're raising that typically about, it's like 9% every year. So it was 1129, and next year it's 1162 per kilowatt month for transmission. So that's dramatically coming up. It's 74% up since 2015. So it has really skyrocketed over the years compared to what we're used to. So when we run during any kind of the 1CP event, which did happen on that 23rd on 6 p.m. because all transmission runs from November 1st to October 31st. So it crosses the year line, and that sometimes gets confusing for folks, but that's the transmission CP season. And it can happen Saturday, Sunday, it can happen on holiday, nobody cares. The transmission peak is anytime. But during that peak, we were running really well, and that's the savings of 5.7. Also, the hydro plant was running. I tried to save as much water, and as it got real difficult that night because the PJM software went down. So we just seen the skyrocketing thing climbing up and up, and it was, the price on the LMI price for a kilowatt or megawatt was in the $400, $500 range that night. But because of the software problem, nobody really knew what to do. And so we ran a little longer than normal, but I ran everything that I could that night and just sucked the river down. But you still only have so much. And once again, the solar field, it was dark. So, yeah, Bob.
Jim and I spent that night, I think we exchanged
We
gifts.
had Christmas Eve together.
Yeah, we shared Christmas Eve that day. I think the people in Bryan maybe not understand exactly what had occurred that evening. It was a tremendous across the nation grid lockup. We had capacity issues, we had supply issues, we had transmission pipelines that were not able to serve. It was just unbelievable. But I'm going to say that our relationship between us and you, and we were able to provide that supply to you guys to make that work. That 5.7 million, we were, it was hard earned for that. It was something that just didn't happen naturally. And it was a very extensive effort on a lot of people involved, including myself and Jim. And just to make everyone understand, that today is the reality. The marketplace today with natural gas and going into generation is going to be similar to this continually going forward. And as we probably talked about earlier, the fact that some of the different supply arrangements that we worked with you folks to help you out there too is more critical now than ever. So this is the new reality on the natural gas market and generation. If you were not able to generate on those particular days, that would have been a pretty hard hit for the people.
Yeah, it
Cost
was
us an awful
a
lot of money.
$6 million loss,
And
basically.
so there was a tremendous effort behind the scenes to make that happen. And like I said before, it was quite one that I'll never forget.
Yeah,
And Bob, when you say "we," you're talking about Ohio Gas and
Yes.
BPA?
Yeah, and we
Because you were with them at that time.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just to
And,
clarify.
yeah, and Bob pulled gas from places that really helped us out. So, because there was none left in the pipeline.
No, there was it was, it scared me, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he was pretty much emailing me or texting me every half hour, shut down. I'm like, I can't yet, there's still emergency, we gotta go as much as we can, and he really helped us out. But for instance, anything north of New York City up to Maine, if it would've got any more colder, the pipelines were flowing at max for natural gas into the New England states. Anything else would have been turned off. So that's how much capacity was being, and they were fighting the freeze-offs down in the production fields.
And the issue going forward is like, this is a new norm for BMU for generation on peak days, especially in January, February. And we looked at entering into a new relationship where we kind of looked at what is the guarantee as best as we can for the marketplace. And what helped us get that 5.7 was the fact that we had storage gas. And that gas was coming out of storage, it was injected in the summertime that we withdrew. Unfortunately, December 23rd is a Christmas weekend, so all your industries were down. Everybody, so your load is going to be down. But I'm just cautioning that this is the new norm now, and that this will happen again.
For instance, what happened in January 15th, 16th, 17th of this year, we entered into a storage agreement with them, and because of that, we had no issue. And we had already paid for it at $2.50 instead of the $40 it was that day. So it's quite a savings, and it keeps bringing that back for our residents here in Bryan. Anyways, to go on, the same way with the max transmission, once PJM calls an emergency max generation, it does its capacity and transmission. We were able to get 126,000 back, also 36 back from the operations, and then I guess I put a dash in there when that's not really a dash for that. So. The parentheses put around the 125.9 as negative value, so that was money we received, and the other two are the ones that we had to pay. So we received $69,839 back, which, as Derek brought out in the financials, pretty much kept us in that good power cost area all year long. And once again, Bob brought up about the great working relationship we had and stuff like this. This is also from the BMU power plant employees. They're the ones that come in, they're the ones that spent 10 hours on Christmas Eve and all that stuff, and all of them showed up. I just text them and they all say, just tell us when to be there, and they show right up. It's a great crew. You just don't see that everywhere in the world. So when you add all those in and stuff like that and get down to the total, you can see the numbers there, but it's a 6.2 savings in our power supply cost for the upcoming year. Now that all kind of, fluctuates. It's not January 1 to December 31st, it's where the power supply costs and when we get those functions in, but that's the savings that we are anticipating. Also, Derek brought up about the RECs, but there's what kind of sorts it out. All glaze, 6,830 megawatt hours down there, and then 2.5 megawatt hours up at the solar fields. But remember now, the solar field, we don't have that monthly payment anymore, so that's coming directly onto the Bryan grid. So our cells, and I tried to just capture the cells because some of them fall in this year and that year once again, and I tried to capture what was actually, came from 2023 that we got funds for in that year. 57 of that has just came in from February. We expected a little earlier than that, but that's when it came in. And of course, that's just a picture of the dam down there, the oil waste facility. And a family of eagles had chicks down there this year over the summer. And so they were teaching them to fish why the ice was melted in front of the downstream side. And so the parents were setting up in the trees and the two other ones are down there going over the river and stuff. So it was hard not to just stop and take a picture of them because it's kind of cool. The generation from all the years, August, September, October, and most of the fall last year was really dry. We didn't generate hardly anything down there from a generation standpoint just because we had no river flow. So there's some projects that helped out with, but I'll get to those in a second. The power plant, 34.5 to 69, this is just some pictures of us getting through some of the structure. Al's crew, a great help in many ways through all that stuff because we just don't have bucket trucks or something like that to get up high enough. We did bring the crane up from the oil glaze facility. You can see one of the digger derricks there in the right picture, and then we rented a lift to try to get as many people where we needed to be so we could move it along. And as you was talking about the supply chain, the jumper over a couple insulators, there's a little plate that we were not supposed to be able to get for 12 weeks. And that was holding us up around building everything, but then they came in after 6 weeks. So you just don't know when it's gonna show up. It could be the smallest part that holds you up. I found a DC main breaker off of Amazon that McNaughton McKay couldn't get me for 12 weeks from today. So I was like, I can't survive like that, you know, I have to find something else, so we started digging around. There's kind of the completed structure of the way it looks inside. And now you have to remember that this is being built by all BMU employees, whether they're power plant or the electrical, and we got engineering helping us. And of course, we're moving some communications, so Joe's group's over there. All these departments have full-time jobs already. So, you know, getting this work in. I just had Spectrum Engineering and Trust today over for 3 hours to see where we are, so we're ready for March to take GT1 offline until we get that structure tore down and everything changed back over. He's extremely pleased. He goes, the wiring in the back is beautiful. He goes, I love how you guys have done everything. You've done a great job. So it's coming from an engineering firm that sees a lot of installations. The Ohio Gas also put in a new header system, metering system for GT1, GE, and it feeds the plant, but the Norburn, but we don't really feed that with natural gas. But once again, the working relationship with Ohio Gas is great in this town. It was easy to work with them to get it all installed, everything come in and right, and they got everything put together just the way we needed it, as well as them. Down at the Og Lace facility, that's the west wall you're seeing there in the left picture. That came off of an ODNR FERC inspection. And they were seeing a couple pieces of rebar that where the concrete had worn down enough to see it. Well, trying to skim an inch of concrete on there, I just didn't think it was going to last through the first ice season. So we got ART, Advanced Rehabilitation Technologies, down there to coat it. And so that's how we fixed that. I was working on another part on a floodgate, but we found out that the concrete is chipping more than normal. So we're going to try to figure out how to do that this summer. We'll probably have to float the barge out there and strap some scaffolding on it to get up there and work on it, because it's just longer than we can reach the lift from down below. One of the things that worked out really well is the ODNR at 5 Mile wanted to redo the boat ramp because of how it was all torn up. Well, with the dry season, it was pretty easy to bring the river down for them. I didn't make very many residents happy, but we were trying to help out the ODNR to get their public access fixed. And so they were able to get it all fixed, and it looks really great. That's kind of what we've been doing down there besides our normal work. But any questions or comments or concerns? You drive by the power plant, you see something that doesn't make sense. Thank you all for your support.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
Next up, we will effect the semi-monthly disbursements. Someone want to make a motion to pay the bills?
So moved. Second.
Dick,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Annette,
Yes.
and Bob.
Yes.
Thank you. And next we will take a break. The meeting will be concluded after executive session. So we are going to take a recess now. Comments. I'm sorry. I checked that off my list already. I'm sorry. Comments from BPA and staff. Bob, would you like to start us out?
I'm impressed with what I've seen on the screens today, with what you guys do. Very detailed, very oriented. I just find it very comforting to know that there's a lot of detail that goes into it. You guys are on top of that, and I applaud you guys for that. So congratulations on what you're doing.
Deb?
I'd like to thank Al and Jim for your hard work on that. whenever I see that every year, of course, coming from the generation world, I understand that. If the customers here only knew how hard you guys work with generation and to keep the power supply costs down, when I was looking at the totals and what we saved in generation, what we got back that gets applied to our power supply costs, can you imagine what your electricity bill would be if we didn't have any of that? You couldn't afford to live here. So I commend you, both electric and the all glaze and generation. So I appreciate all the hard work everybody does. And keep up the good work. Keep saving us money. That's all I have.
Joe?
Yeah, I want to thank the electric department for a fine presentation. It's very informative. And yes, we do have excellent, hardworking employees in all departments. We do.
Annette?
Very informative budget review. Thank you very much. There's a lot of information in there. It's great to see the departments all work together with the teamwork and everything. It does. It's rare to find. It is an excellent asset in all departments. And you had listed in here the employees with reaching their years of service. That's nice to see. The longevity of some of these employees, 32 years, anywhere from 2 to 32 years. So congrats to everybody listed in here. So that's nice to see. That's all.
Thank you. Derek?
Just like to echo your statements. Al and Jim, thank you for your hard work and all the employees. We appreciate what they do.
Say the same as Derek. It's nice to have employees that are always dedicated. It makes your guys' jobs a lot easier. So, thank you.
Mayor?
Yeah, well done on the presentation. I always enjoy that. And Jim, thank you again for having me out last year with Derek at the Ogleys and John. It was a really good educational trip. Sad the Eagles weren't out there that day. I didn't know they were nesting. Also, I'd like to thank the board for allowing me to represent BMU on the OMEA Executive Board. Thank you.
John?
I have nothing to add, but share the same feelings.
Thank you. John? Thank you. Joe? Okay. Brian?
Nothing, please.
Jim?
I failed to mention how much the water department helped us too,
Okay.
because they did a lot of hauling and digging and things for us too also, so. And it came to my mind when Annette brought up, I didn't mention them, so I apologize, Jim.
It's a team effort.
I should actually say that too. They help us a lot too. They do mulching on the corridor for us, which knocks down a lot of the underbrush and keeps everything cleaned up down there, so we can get our bucket trucks through there without getting them scratched up on the edges. That mulcher that we got on their excavator does a great job doing that. And they just do a great job for us too on the water department. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Metz?
Nothing else at this time?
All right, at this time, and I agree with everybody else, so share all of your things, concerns, and thank you for doing the OMEA representation. It's very much appreciated. So at this time, we will take a recess and we will have an executive session, and people that we are going to request remain are the BPA members, Derek, Jimmy, Mayor Schlade, John, and Joe Farrell. Everyone else can be excused. Thank you very much.